Loneliness, isolation, confusion, anxiety, depression, mental health. Not a day goes by that we don't hear about the declining state of mental health in our communities. We see its effect on our streets, homes, and churches. It almost seems catchy. But there is good news. There are things we can do to increase our own mental well-being and contribute to the well-being of others. Let's explore what it means to have hope today on Hometown. Arthur Summers Roche wrote, "Anxiety is a thin stream of fear trickling through the mind. If encouraged, it cuts a channel into which all other thoughts are drained." An early 20th century author, this observation by Roche reminds us that anxiety is nothing new. But it does seem like there's a mental health crisis in our country and even in our community. Why? And how can we be as healthy mentally and spiritually as possible? Is there hope? Or is this a lost cause we must accept as a new normal? Today we meet people who are working to provide health and hope. They're on the front lines of combating loneliness, purposelessness, fear, and anxiety. Let's talk about mental health, an essential ingredient in the remarkable story of us.
Cassidy, Brewin, we're sitting here in downtown beautiful Walla Walla. It's nice to have you here on Hometown.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So Cassidy, tell us what your job is here in Walla Walla, what your title is, and where your heart is right now with your job.
Yeah, so I'm the Suicide and Opioid Prevention Coordinator for Walla Walla County Department of Community Health. As part of my job, I am also fortunate enough to be the coalition coordinator for Reach Out, which is our local suicide prevention coalition. And just so thankful to be in this community and doing this work and working with the people that I do.
Wow, that is a lot. Just as you shared all of that, I'm thinking about all these different aspects, all the different people. And so here we are on a beautiful day, but for a lot of people, they're not seeing the sunshine. They're not feeling the warm temperature and all of that. So that's where you folks are coming in to reach out to people like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit, when we hear about mental health, we're talking about it a little bit more, which is good. A lot of people still, I think, I've got that stigma of, well, I don't know if I'm involved with that because it's kind of had a shadow over it to talk about it where you don't want to admit some things.
Yeah.
So could you address some of that for maybe the person who's like, I'm going through something, but I don't want to have that stigma on me?
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
I would say that experiencing mental health challenges is a lot more common than people think it is. In Walla Walla County, there's an estimated around 29% of our adult population who has been depressed with diagnosed with depression at some point in their life. And so I would let people know that they're not alone and that there's resources out there. The more that we can talk openly about our mental health challenges, the better our community is, because we can wrap around each other, provide care, and get access to resources.
So you work for the county health department,
Yeah.
and then with Reach. So tell us a little bit about Reach and what it does to reach out.
Yeah, so Reach Out is our local suicide prevention coalition. So we are made up of a group of volunteers and community organizations that are all passionate about preventing suicide within our community. So we do a couple of events throughout the year. September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. So for that, we're doing our annual Suicide Prevention Awareness Walk on September 10th. We're also hosting some community trainings, some suicide prevention trainings for community members. So we do kind of like community awareness events, we do training, and then part of it is also just providing support to organizations that want to get more involved within suicide prevention work. So how do they integrate suicide prevention policies into their organizations to support their clients and their staff?
So is suicide on the rise in Walla Walla County?
So our suicide rates kind of go up and down and up and down, and that's pretty normal for a small community. What we see is that we are typically above the state average. So typically this last reporting year, which was 2022, for suicide deaths, we had about, I think our rate was 19.4 people per 100,000. The state is at around 14.7. So we are a little bit higher. That's pretty common for rural areas as well.
Really?
Yep. So rural areas in Washington typically have higher rates than our non-rural counterparts.
Wow. See, I would think just the opposite.
Yeah.
I would think just the opposite. So is there an age range?
Yeah, so typically the folks that are most at risk for suicide and the most suicide deaths that we see are men in their middle-aged years. So kind of like 45 to 60, even up to 65. So that's our highest demographic of suicide deaths.
And any reasons why it's that age range in men?
Yeah, I think as a society, men are not necessarily raised to talk openly about their feelings. And there's also stigma around getting access to behavioral health services when you do need support. I like to remind people, you go to the emergency room if you break your arm. If something's going on mentally, why don't we treat that the same way? Because, it can have devastating consequences if you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, we have 911 to call for an emergency.
Yep.
And tell me about the number to call for mental health issues.
Yeah, so Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 988. That was launched in July of 2022 nationally. So instead of having to remember a big 10-digit number for Suicide Prevention Lifeline, nationally is now switched over to 988. So if you or somebody you know is in crisis, you can call 988 and there's a licensed mental health professional on the other line that can talk with you or your loved one about next steps.
Awesome. And that's 24/7 available?
Yep, 24/7,
Wonderful.
completely free.
Wonderful. So if there's someone watching and maybe they're struggling with some things in their life or they have a family member or whatever, what are some hopeful things that we can share with them?
Yeah. One thing that I like to share with folks is that suicide is one of the most preventable types of deaths. For around 90% of people who have attempted suicide, they do not go on later in life to die by suicide. So
that's good news.
Yeah, it's great news. So if folks can get into effective treatment, they potentially will never be suicidal again. I know it can be scary to take that first step, to reach out to a behavioral health provider, to seek out a counselor, but it could potentially save your life. So I would encourage folks who might be struggling or have loved ones to really, be brave and take that first step and reach out for help.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And obviously success stories that you just shared, and that's good news for all of us to have that. So what's it like for you to work with all of the things that you do? What is it like for you?
I am very thankful for my job and the work that I get to do. I think, 10, 15 years ago, I never saw myself working in public health. It was not something that was on my radar, but through, some funding changes of grants that I was on and some really great mentors, I ended up where I am now. I think that behavioral health and suicide prevention is something that we're going to be increasingly looking at more over the coming years in public health, of understanding how do we make our communities safer for everybody.
Yes.
I think with public health, a lot of people think, oh, you're the health inspectors that go into the restaurants, or, you're the folks that did COVID and all of our, was responding to COVID. But we do so much more, and there's more expansion.
A bigger umbrella to all of it.
Absolutely. So anything that we can do to make systems in our county better for folks and, reach people before they're in crisis.
Yes. See, well, absolutely. Because once you get to that point, but it's the inner part of how can we prevent all of that.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
Well, Cassidy, blessings to you and your work. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for being on Hometown as we sit here in beautiful Walla Walla.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Carmelle, it's great to be talking with you today about a really important topic, our mental health. And it occurs to me that we think a lot about our physical health, but isn't our mental health just as important?
Yeah, absolutely. Our physical health impacts our mental health hugely, and
the other way around. It's like
and
they're
the other way around.
intertwined.
Yep. When we have a stomach ache or a headache, we get cranky at the people we love, and then that affects the relationship with them. If we have losses or anything going on in the world that is stressing us out, then we have a really hard time trying to deal with life.
It's true, and it's so often that sometimes maybe you'll get a headache or something, you're trying to figure out why do I have this headache, or why is my neck hurting, and you realize, oh, I'm thinking about all these things that I'm really stressed about, and then it manifests.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It affects our sleep, and if we don't get enough rest, then
It affects our mental health.
it affects our mental health. Yeah, so it's all interconnected.
So thinking about that and making sure that we're caring for our whole selves, really important.
Yes. Yeah.
And do we have good resources, around us that can help us with that?
Well, there are many mental health counselors around the valley, and both online, of course, after COVID, we have access unlimited to being able to have somebody that can help us deal with some of these things. Many of the physicians' offices around the nation have adopted having behavioral health counselors right in the clinic. So when you go and see your doctor about things that are going on with your body, sometimes the physicians recognize, oh, it is more than just giving them a pill. This is mental health, and they have mental health therapists come in and talk to the person about whether or not it's grief or learning a new healthy behavior, helping them learn how to sleep.
Yeah. I'm really glad to hear that. I think it's really beneficial to see those things becoming more integrated, and maybe your regular physician being more tuned in to that side of things. I know when I was a teenager, I had sort of some terrible bouts of tachycardia, and went to the physician, and he was like, you need to just don't take life so seriously, and sent me away, and that was it. I think it would have been so beneficial to have a little help with, okay, what is stressing you out?
Absolutely.
What's making you feel this way? Somebody to process that with, some actual help, instead of just like, don't take life so seriously. You'll be okay, goodbye,
And we often use the words stressing, being stressed out.
Yeah.
Many times what that actually is a very common mental health disorder called anxiety.
Yeah.
And anxiety is the #1 cause of people's distress, and usually the #1 reason why they seek a mental health therapist. And some people that come to talk to me in the office or other therapists will start talking about what is going on, and when we start giving a name to it and they know that there's hope for them and that they can handle it, they just break down and cry, and they say, why didn't anybody tell me this before?
Yes. So you're saying it's really common. I know that so many people around me express in one way or another anxious feelings.
Yes.
So how do we know when it's between, well, I'm just having a stressful time, or I feel somewhat worried or anxious about this, and when it's really becoming a problem, a serious anxiety problem?
I get really passionate talking about anxiety, and one of the things about anxiety is we don't really know whether or not what we're worried about is valid or not. But intuitively, we kind of know that it is, because we're embarrassed to talk about it. And I love that we are trying to inform people, everywhere, that you don't need to be ashamed about it.
You can talk about it.
You can talk about it.
Even if you think, the thing that makes me anxious is probably silly to other people.
it always is silly, because what anxiety is your brain tricking you to believe that you're in danger when you're not.
Ah.
And the brain trick part of it is when we are anxious, don't know. We feel inside of us, this is ridiculous, I should keep quiet about it, but we don't want to say anything because intuitively, you know.
And then that's why we're not getting help when it's available.
And we don't know, it feels like I'm in danger, but...
And anxiety can be really closely related to depression, yes?
I often say they're Siamese twins. You know, ongoing anxiety, unresolved anxiety causes depression and vice versa.
Interesting.
It can be very isolating.
So it's just important. It's important to reach out to some of those resources and find someone that you can share with and get some help.
Absolutely. And actually, just by talking about it, sometimes, not that it's cured in one session, but sometimes people say after just one session of just saying, I have a concern here and I'm struggling with this, they say, man, I feel so much better. Why do I feel so much better?
Yeah.
It's because they've been able to express it and not hold it inside anymore.
So there are really big benefits to counseling.
Absolutely.
And who should see a counselor? How do you know?
I personally think that every single person could benefit from counseling. And because I look at counseling as you set the goals for yourself, how do you want to improve in life? So anyone who wants to improve on their life, and we all know that we all can improve in some area.
Yes.
You can talk with a therapist, try and find a therapist that you really connect with, that listens to you and listens to what your goals are, and set goals for, this is how I want to improve in my life, and that therapist can help walk you through to reach those goals.
I know often people are worried about that. Will I be able to find somebody that relates with my values? Will I be able to find someone who kind of understands me and what's important to me in my life? Is that hard to do?
It actually is. However, I often tell people when they go and see a therapist, if the very first session you're not like, wow, this is awful, I cannot talk with this person, I can't connect, then give it another session, because sometimes it takes a little while to relax and be able to talk with a therapist. But therapists, if they are working according to what their training and role is, it shouldn't matter what religion, what anything, because it is not a therapist telling you what you should do. It is helping you find answers within your values, helping you discover your values, and we work within your framework for what you need to learn and what you want to learn.
Providing tools to people to kind of
Absolutely.
figure it out.
Yeah. So one very popular, and it's not the only theoretical framework, is cognitive behavioral therapy. That is paid for by a lot of insurances because it's more psychoeducational. Here's what you can do. Here are some steps.
Yes.
And it's not the end all be all, but for some short term goal directed therapy, then I can help you talk about what do you want to do, and pushing yourself a little beyond your comfort zone. Like when we go to the gym, we don't start out, if we have never been to the gym, we don't start out by bench pressing 200 pounds.
No, not
Otherwise,
if we'd like to move the next day.
Exactly. But we start in small increments,
workout.
and we don't just stay with that small increment or we won't grow.
Indeed. There we tie back to the physical again and some connections. So our community, you know, we have in many ways, really a kind of tight, close-knit community in a lot of ways. This is kind of a special place. We want our community to be more healthy, of course, and to always be growing. What can we as individuals do to help to create a community that is stronger with mental health?
I know that think about when somebody has died, many of us are afraid to go to the family member, even if they're a close friend, and talk to them about that. We just feel awkward. What am I going to say? If we make the effort to go to that person, we find out that that helps them. And I think the more that we make available to people to just talk, that really, really opens up the door for them. If you don't feel comfortable talking to somebody, let's make sure we make it okay for them to go to other people.
Yes.
And we can befriend them.
Befriending, listening.
Listening.
Yeah. So this is a gift that we can give everybody in our circle, really.
Yes. Yeah.
That ability to be heard.
And normalize that it's okay.
It's okay to get counseling.
It is.
It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you or you're irreparably broken or something.
No.
It doesn't need to be embarrassing. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And, I believe that God created us with emotions.
Yes.
He called David a man after his own heart. And when I read the Psalm,
it's all over, huh?
Yeah, it's just like there's this emotion, there's joy, there's sadness, there's despair, those people who are trained to be listeners, and it's really good to encourage people to be able to express those emotions.
So we can help build a stronger community by being open with each other, first of all, and then also I hear you saying, letting people know it's a good thing. It's a good thing to get counseling. You said early in our conversation here that everyone can benefit from it. So trying maybe to remove that stigma that if you have to go see somebody.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are people that have gone to counseling for the first time and they say, I can breathe easier. Why is it that I can actually get more air in my lungs?
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Back to that, how it's so much tied to our physical. We are whole people. God made us as whole creatures, for sure. Yeah. Well, this has been really wonderful conversation, really enlightening. Thanks a lot for chatting with me.
Ready, girl? She's already jetted off.
Does she know the place?
Oh yeah, she knows. Come on, Drew. See if those fish are still there from earlier. You see how it kind of gets a little shallow?
Yeah.
And you see that foam line, right? The fish usually will be feeding on that foam line. See those little pops right there? So you'll see these little pops, and there were some bigger fish in this hole earlier. So I'm gonna drip some dry flies through there, see if I can get one to come up and rise on it and take the fly. I enjoy taking people out, and I've had, before I started guiding, I would have people ask me to take them out all the time anyways. And so I was like, well, you know what? I bet you I can get a few trips, help pay for my fishing gear. Just rise on it. It goes right over the top of them. There's two of them sitting right there. You can see them moving around. If we don't get them here, I'll make a couple more casts and then we'll move down a little bit and just see if we can find a fish that's more willing to do something. Maybe the fish are just camera shy. All right, June, let's get this done. Got him. There we go. Here, what we got? Nope. Good. Rainbow. You don't get bit the first couple passes, you might as well just move. Yeah. There's so much noise and there's so many different distractions that when you come out here, it helps silence the brain fog, I call it. I mean, you can say it's good for the soul or whatever, right? It kind of just all goes away, and you kind of just something to really clear the mind and kind of rejuvenate yourself. And then every once in a while, you'll catch a fish, which is nice.
Sometimes we need someone to help us learn how to approach things differently and to reassure us that what we are struggling with can be overcome. Carmelle and Cassidy are two of the incredible people in our community who are committed to doing that. They are part of people in our community who support us as we face the challenges of life and provide a way to develop a new vision, a new perspective, and a spark of hope in our lives, no matter our circumstances. How can you contribute? Phone a friend, reach out to a neighbor over the back fence. Stop and thank someone you don't know for their work. Say a simple good morning to someone you pass on the street. Send a note of appreciation to someone who impacted your life. Stop at a child's lemonade stand. Taking time to practice small things can remind someone that they matter. And when life seems more than you can handle, the most important thing is to reach out and find someone to listen, to offer guidance, and to teach you new ways to approach your fear. As the Psalms remind us, when anxiety was great within me, your consolation brought me joy. Our mental health is as important as our physical health. Our community is blessed with many places to find someone to talk to, learn from, and encourage us to put in the effort it takes to build our mental health. I'm here today in Muir Park, a beautiful place for a quiet walk and an opportunity to enjoy time away from my phone and daily responsibilities. I'm going to take a little bit of time to reflect in the quiet and appreciate this day, this place, and this wonderful community. I'll see you next week on our next episode of Hometown.